You're listening to the On the Bounce podcast, the show that is the ultimate source for all MLS fantasy news, tips, and everything else you need to dominate your leagues. Me, I'm JK, and I'm joined as always by my two hosts, Brady and Jarvis. Together, us three make up On the Bounce, and we're here to give you the best advice we can, along with some pretty great entertainment. Now, with all this out the way, let's jump right into today's episode.
Game 6. What's going on, everybody? This is episode 6. It's close enough. On the Bounce is back again. You know who it is. It's me, JK. I got with always, you know what I'm talking about. Welcome back. I can't speak, so this is a normal On the Bounce intro. But anyway, I got, as always with me, Brady, Gravy the Gaffer. What's going on, bub?
What's up, lads? Welcome to week 6. Weird week this week. Let's talk fantasy.
Let's talk it up. And then over here, I got a blinded by the light, Josh Jarvis. We're going to carry him through it, and he's going to carry us through it. Like flu game Jordan. Jarvis, what's going on today?
Flu game Jordan. Joey can't speak. Brady, this is all on you.
I'm ready.
No, I can't speak. Jarvis is blind, and Brady's partially deaf. So together, we are the three handicap mice, and we're bringing you heat on episode 6 today, boys. But before we jump into all of this, a quick shout out to everybody that's been checking out the On the Bounce podcast, whether you're seeing it on our website, otbounce.com, over on our new host, Podbean, or on Spotify or iTunes. A massive shout out to you guys. We're actually doing nice so far. It's been about just like 3 weeks now, but the numbers are looking great, and I love that we're getting all over the country. We're out in the UK. We're out in Saudi Arabia getting Arab money. I love it.
Shout out to Haram.
We're balling right now. Shout out. Well, maybe not, but shout out to all of them over there. But all right. So if you guys listened to our last episode, and if you watched MLS soccer over the week 4, you know it was a really weird week. We had the international break, or the international duty, and there was only 5 games, 10 teams playing. So it was a really slow, light week. Fantasy terms was odd, and on the field was weird because you had a lot of key players gone all over the world with their national team. So we're going to go ahead and jump right into the little MLS week 4 recap, tell you what we saw, what we got out of each game, and stuff like that. So Brady, why don't you go ahead and kick it off? What did you see this weekend?
All right. So the first game I watched this week was actually the Red Bulls in Orlando City because that was the game me and Josh Jarvis bet a bowl on. We said we bet a bowl that it would be 2 goals, or the line that we bet was 2 goals, Red Bulls win, and Orlando won by 1, lads. So
Yikes.
I got a bowl off the Red Bulls lost.
Never never gambling on the Red Bulls with a Red Bull again.
It was
just a double negative.
Slow, boring game. Orlando didn't break through until I believe, what was it, like the 70th?
It was late.
Yeah, it was late.
Yeah, it was the 70th.
73rd minute. It was Kledgton who finally kind of broke his duck. He hasn't been scoring much. Former Red Bull player who we actually saw against FC Cincinnati in the Open Cup a few years ago.
We did.
When he was on the Red Bulls. So,
facts.
Fun game in the end, but kind of boring to watch in the first 70 minutes. But yeah, that was the only game that I watched besides the FCC game. What about you boys?
Yeah, talking about that Red Bulls game, man, that was kind of like it set the tone for the week. Pretty much every team that we were like, listen, go hard on in fantasy, they got most of their studs, kind of like laid an egg for us. But yeah, that game was slow and painful. The one that I was watching at the same time was the Crew and Union game, and boy, was that the complete opposite of kind of what we were thinking on the last episode.
Yeah.
So it ended up 3-0 Philly. And it was just like, what are we watching here? Like, Columbus was out key players, of course, but it was really like Zardes, Wiltrap, and Stefan in the net. So they had like their whole core midfield. They're playing a weak Philly team that's, lost key pieces in their starting lineup. But it was such a weird game. Columbus looked lost the whole time. It was really odd because Columbus has been great this season. Caleb Porter looked like he had them, ready to take that next step. But that game was just weird. David Accam went to work for the Union. The Union overall looked like a whole new team. So this is one of those weeks where, like we were talking about, you're going to have these guys that are stepping into the new starting 11 lineup, and they could really prove a point. And Philly Union had a couple guys that looked like they're going to prove the point.
True.
And I don't want to name too many because it looks like that's what we're going to talk about later. But yeah, that was one of the games I watched. Of course, we watched the FCC game. Jarvis, what about you? What else did you see?
I don't know why I have felt like I love FC Dallas's back line for some reason, and I feel like I have a personal connection to Matt Hedges at this point. So every single time FC Dallas
Shout out
wins,
to him.
I'm happy. But yes,
Okay.
FC Dallas's back line played great again. Big
They're
Holland.
solid, man. They're solid back there.
Truly, they look great this year.
Truthfully.
But yeah, Hollingshead scored that goal. Matt Hedges played good. Ziegler played good. It didn't really show in fantasy, but they did play good overall. They ended up winning 2-1, so they've continued their hot start, looking good. And then the only other game we haven't touched on from the Saturday four-piece was the LAFC Real Salt Lake game, and that was a good game. LAFC won 2-1.
Revenge.
They had another late game winner, like another dramatic goal at home.
The Zimmerman.
LAFC looks really good. Yeah, I mean, that goal was ridiculous.
That was
it was like a
amazing.
knuckleball, curve ball from outside the box. The keeper was just
Froze
lost
him.
looking at it.
Frozen.
Oh, it was crazy. But yeah, that was a good game, though. Captain Carlos did his thing. He got 14 in fantasy if you captained them, so it was a solid week from him. But our other two picks from the week, Dio and Latif, they looked good on the pitch, especially Latif. Brady called it. He was literally everywhere. He was back in defense. He did concede a penalty, but it was close. But he was everywhere on the whole pitch. It was great. But yeah, him and Dio only ended up with, I think, 2 or 3 points in fantasy, so not that great. But it was a fun, entertaining game, MLS-wise.
We did.
And then, of course...
We did.
Well, go ahead.
We did pick Zimmerman as well, so that was a.
True. Yeah. I mean, we got a couple good
we got
picks
at least one
and a
of
couple
them.
bad picks. Yeah, exactly. And then, of course, to finish out the week, FC Cincinnati
FCC.
has another banger game, 2-0 against the Revs in New England. I don't want to talk about this one too much because we do
Yeah, we're gonna go
talk
to-
about some of these players later. But let's just all say it was a great game, right? We all watched it.
FCC.
Oh,
It was amazing.
it was so satisfying to go to New England and get another clean sheet and get another 3 points. And now FCC's tied first, top of the East. I love it.
Dude, what's up
I
with
love it.
It's
the
insane.
Revs are insanely bad right now too.
They're
Yeah,
very
man,
bad.
'cause-
Like that
Like,
was pathetic showing from them. They looked awful.
Yeah, they looked awful. And at home, like I know they had 10,000 attendance, but I saw that their average last year was 18,000.
Yeah.
So they're already losing attendance. That team, it was weaker, of course, for international duty, but it wasn't too weak. And then they lost to a weak FCC brand new team, brand new franchise in MLS. Like, I don't know. There's some questions that are going to be brought up about the Revs for sure.
I think after
Anything
that
else?
and Philadelphia playing super well against Columbus, I think New England's like solidified themselves as the worst team in the league at this point.
Agreed.
Yeah, they gotta be for sure. Because they didn't even really. I mean, they had like maybe 1 or 2 chances, but it wasn't anything like over 90 minutes. They looked like a good team. It was really odd. All right, anything else MLS news before we move on to the fantasy side?
Don't believe so.
Yeah, I think that's about it. Like we said, it was a really thin week if you guys watched it. Let us know any of the thoughts you got on the 5 games we had over the weekend. But with moving right on, we're going to go right into the Fantasy Week 4 recap. And this is just a short little segment we do on every Tuesday episode where we give you the real quick fantasy recap of like the average points that you could score in fantasy, the dream team, stuff like that. And then we jump into our winners, losers, and hidden gems. So over the last weekend, the average points you could score in fantasy was 31. Now, that is ridiculous. The last couple averages have been the 70s, the high 60s, and we've been scoring in the 80s and 70s. So this week, I only scored 63. What did you guys score?
69.
I think... Okay.
I had 50, I believe.
All right, so yeah, it was a weird week, like we've been saying the last 2 episodes, but the average score this week was 31, so if you guys were, I'm sure you guys were in the 40s or 50s, you guys did good. Maybe a couple of you out there forgot that you had all these buys and all these international breaks, but no fear, we're back to a normal week this week, hopefully. But the Dream Team of the Week was pretty different. You had 5 FC Cincinnati boys in there. Lasso, Garza, Duplan, and Kenny Saif. And then the in net was Rowe for Orlando City. You had Zimmerman from LAFC that we were just talking about with that crazy goal. Sasha from Orlando City in the midfield. A Philly boy, a new boy that I've seen this season, Ilcino. He's got a nice 9-piece in the Dream Team of the Week.
Hey.
Barrios from FC Dallas with his nice goal. Of course, Kakuta Mane up top. And then David Akam, who went off for Philly with a nice brace this week. He had 30 if you captained him, so he was the high scorer of the week. And there is your Dream Team of the Week. Anything you guys want to touch on those boys, or you just want to move right along?
I think we're going to talk about quite a few of them in our
True
next
enough.
segments. I don't want to
Hidden
round
gems
up,
and
but
other segments.
FCC,
All right.
what a big week from FCC. So many guys out there. They put up big points. That was awesome.
Yeah, and a ton of them were the USL boys they brought up. It was great to see. So moving on to the meat of the episode, we got the winners and losers segment. So normally we do 2 winners, 2 losers each, but since this was a thin week, not a lot of games, we didn't want to step on each other's toes too much, so we're just going to do 1 winner and 1 loser from each. So Jarvis, why don't you go ahead and kick it off with your winner of the week?
So my winner of the week is going to be Walker Zimmerman.
Okay.
We talked about it a little bit earlier, but that goal he had, and what was it, the 92nd, I believe,
Yep,
to
right
win
to
that
death.
win that game was absolutely insane. And it's really like the first great day he's had for fantasy so far this year with 12. He hasn't broke 6 other than that this year, but he had 83 passes, which I feel like is a ridiculous amount.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's up 500K this week, 800K on the season, and he's almost at 8 million. He's at 7.8, which is pretty expensive for a defender. So I'm probably not gonna play him week in, week out yet. But let me see how he does against like DC and some teams like that. And I mean, if he's keeping it up, you have to play him.
Yeah, that's a lot of passes completed from the back line, of course. But yeah, if he gets involved in some more goals, that'll definitely be something to look into.
He had 5
that goal
shots
was
for a defender,
undeniable.
which is kind of crazy.
Yeah, true. That is a lot. All right, Brady, who's your winner of the week?
All right, allow me to go off really quick.
Okay.
My my winner of the week was big man, high scorer of the week, David Akam of the Philadelphia
Yes.
Union. Listen to this, lads. My guy dedicated this game to his father, who died a few days before the match, losing his battle with cancer. My guy was out there playing with everything that he had, and he willed the United to an awesome upset victory over the Crew, their first W of the season. I mean,
You can't ask for
you
more.
can't ask for more from this man. What a way to come out and honor his father. My guy Akam was, he's kind of struggled ever since he got to the Union. He's battled a lot of injuries. I think he had a sports hernia last season for most of the year. So the Union fans were kind of getting a little, antsy about the addition of,
for sure.
of adding Akam. Because when he was on the Fire, he, 3 seasons with the Fire, he had 10 goals, 9 goals, 14 goals. This guy was a pretty...
On fire.
He was on fire for the Fire. He was a prominent forward for him, and really in the whole MLS. This guy, this was a big prove-it game for him, and he came out proving he was healthy, proving he was fit, proving he was ready to come in and, get some minutes. And this guy flipping dominated with 2 goals, 15 fantasy points. He only played 17 minutes over the first 2 matches of the season that he was active, but he played a full 90 this week, put up the league high 15, 2 goals, the brace, still only 5.8 million. I mean,
Yeah. That's what we got to talk about.
he's
That
5.8
is
million.
ridiculous.
I mean, this is a mixture. This was almost a hidden gem for me. I kind of wanted to put him
exactly.
there, but I couldn't take him away. He was the highest scorer of the week. I mean, he's the biggest winner. You gotta have him up here. It's kind of a mixture this week. You get a 2-for-1 with this guy. He's got. I think he's got 10 million plus fantasy potential value. At least, especially if he breaks in the starting 11 regular. I read from one of the team sources that they would not be surprised if his playing time skyrocketed and if he continued scoring a lot of goals this year. So, I mean, the team's behind him. It seems like the fans are getting behind him. This was his prove-it game. He proved it to the fans, to the team, to the coaches, to the gaffa. Gravy the gaffa included. And, cheers to my guy, Calm. He's out there, putting it out there for his dad who died. I thought that was awesome. This guy's a beast. Put him in your starting lineup. Make about $5 million profit just on one player. This is the guy to throw in. He could fit in your bench for $5.8 million. This is like an automatic for anyone.
Oh, for sure. Yeah, I really like you brought up that price point because, of course, he went off this week, like you were saying. But for $5.8 million, and just like you said, he gave the Philly Union the spark they've been needing like all season. They haven't been scoring a ton. Like you said, they haven't won a game yet. I know they've missed Marco Fabian in the last 2 matches, but he's in the midfield. So when he comes back, David Accam now has a guy that can feed him balls all the time. So Brady's hitting on this one. I'm telling you boys right now, you have to trust Brady, Gravy the Gaffer. Go get this boy. That's so cheap for a starting striker because he's going to break in there. He's going to break in.
How do you not put him in the starting 11 now? I mean, as a gaffer, you got to throw him in.
Yeah, for sure. I love that pick a lot. He's definitely the winner of the week overall. Number 1 winner. All right, so my winner of the week is Kakuta Mane from FCC. So he's been in and around the starting team since they brought him in. They brought him in late after week 1, but he was in the starting 11 for the 3rd time in a row, and I think he's pretty much solidified that he's going to be there the entire season, barring injury or anything like that. They've played him at the 10. They've played him on the wings. He's very versatile, and in fantasy, he's a forward, but I still think he's worth a look in fantasy. And if you didn't know, this week he had a very nice 12 points. He scored a goal, he assisted another, he had 3 key passes, created 1 big chance, had 29 completed passes, made 2 tackles, drew 3 fouls, so he was close to getting a couple more bonus points along with those goals and assists that he produced. But the real reason I like him, we were talking about it during the game because like we've said, we're FCC fans, we were all watching it, texting the whole time, but he's just all over. He's one of those guys that he's got that high motor, like he'll drop back in defense as shown with him getting 2 tackles even though he was playing the 10. He goes all the way up the pitch, he's making the passes, he's making good runs. If he really starts to click in with this FCC team that are all trying to click in together since it's a brand new roster, pretty much a whole new team this year, I really think that they're going to be dangerous and Kakuta Mane is going to be very dangerous along with them. And like I said, he's versatile. He plays the wings, he plays striker, he plays the 10. I think he's a guy to definitely keep your eye on throughout the next week or 2 with the matchups FCC has. Being back at home, too, is great for them. But that's my big winner of the week. Jarvis, who's your loser of the week?
Sadly, my loser of the week is Big Gaston Sorrow.
Gaston!
Yeah. Extremely sad.
Yeah,
it was an unfortunate game for them for sure. He only had 1 point. They allowed 3 goals. He had a yellow. And that's, he got a point for passing and 2 points for playing the full 90, but 2 of the 3 were taken away because of the yellow and the goals allowed. So, Columbus just did not look good at all. I'm not too worried about Gaston Sorrow. I'm not selling yet. He's still up $2 million on the year. So I'm going to hold on to him, play him for the next couple of weeks, and then I would imagine he's still going to do pretty well.
Yeah, I wouldn't be too worried about him or any of the other crew guys. It was a rough week. Everybody's got to have a down week. They're not just going to keep steamrolling teams and playing great like that. But yeah, it was definitely a rough week for Columbus overall. Brady, who's your loser of the week?
So one more thing about Sorrow, he gets Zach Steffen back next week too. Yeah. So I wouldn't be too worried about him. So my loser of the week, I'm gonna go with BWP, Bradley Wright Phillips. I could go with the whole Red Bulls team as losers this week. I could have gone with Royer, with Mule, or BWP. I could have even gone with Nani on the other side with Orlando, but Bradley Wright Phillips was the most expensive, so he's my loser this week. He had a decent first match, or his first match of the season. He missed the first week. He had 8 points against San Jose last week. His value is sitting at about $10.8 million heading into this week, which is pretty hefty, considering some of the other considering some of the other options at forward. He did not pay off at all this week. He only put up 2 points, and that's an abysmal $5.4 million per fantasy point, which hurts. That's a killer.
Yikes.
For your week. That takes up a huge chunk of your budget, and you get nothing out of it. The sad thing is, he was if you had played fantasy this week, there's chances he was in your lineup. He was one of the most selected players. 25% of teams had Bradley Wright Phillips as their forward. I mean, there wasn't a lot of teams playing this week. There wasn't a lot of forwards. He was one of the big name guys, and you really needed him to shine against a struggling Orlando side. But I mean, I don't know if it was really his fault. The Red Bulls really just couldn't put anything together on offense. Bradley Wright Phillips was shut down. Royer was shut down. Mule was just getting like the living crap beat out of him the whole game. My guy took a 70-mile-per-hour kick to the dome from about 3 or 4 yards away. I'm confident he broke his nose. I think the medical staff came out and was attending the Red Bulls about 10 times during this game. At the end of the game, there was 7 minutes of added time, just to give you a little introspect into how much the Red Bulls were getting beat up in this game by an actual pretty physical Orlando City team who kind of impressed a lot of people this week. But overall, big loss for Wright Phillips this week. 2 points, costing $10.8 million. I'm not too worried. I think the Red Bulls will put it together once they get their full side back. And I think, although Phillips has only scored 1 goal in the last 10 matches, I do think he's still a solid fantasy guy this week or this year. And I wouldn't be too shy to throw him in your lineup, especially against a good matchup.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with that. I think it was just a weird week all around. And like you said, props to Orlando. They were parking the bus, playing crazy counter and physical defense. They knew what they were doing.
They were beefing it up.
Yeah, they knew what they wanted out of that game. A 1-0 win, and that's exactly what they got.
Yeah.
So it was good. But yeah, I definitely agree. BWP's got to be a loser. That price point hits you hard. Maybe that's why, since you said he was one of the most all-around picked players in fantasy this week, maybe that's why the average point was 31 this week.
Yeah.
Whew, but that makes sense. All right, moving on to the last loser of the week. That is my pick. It is Federico Higuain, another crew boy.
The pig?
Yeah. There's the pig. Piguain himself. He was actually a pig today. Last week he was wallowing in the mud. That's all he did in fantasy. But if you guys listened to the last episode, you know that we, and me exclusively pretty much, was very high on Higuain, Pedro Santos, and the crew in general. And to be honest, they laid a very fat egg. They lost 3-0 to Philly, as we've been saying. And Higuain, this is kind of continuing of his weird start to the season in fantasy terms. He's only averaging 5.5 points per game, well, 5.2 points per game in fantasy. And it's been weird. Like, his highest score was only 7, and his lowest was this week, where it was only 3. So really, he's just hitting like 5 points every week. And the games I've watched of them and him, he looks good. Like, he's always just delivering crosses right into the box to Zardes. He's always making good key passes to guys on runs like Santos, Rubinho, but nothing's really coming of it. So I don't know if I'm worried about him yet. He did go down in value a bit, but on the year he's stayed even because he went up 0.3, went up 0.2, and then this week he went down 500,000. So now he's back at dead even, but man, it's just a really weird season for Higuain. But like I said, I'm not worried because I think this was a weird week for the crew, like we were talking about with Jarvis bringing up Gaston. It's just a weird week. So I don't think we sell these guys yet. I think we see how they do next week against ATL. Hopefully they have a bounce-back week because ATL is also having a weird season. So who knows what that game will be. That game might be a 5-5 shootout or it might be a 0-0 draw. Who knows? That's going to be a weird one. But I think that could be a fun one to watch. So that is it for our winners and losers of the week. There is 3 winners, 3 losers for all you guys. Let us know on Twitter at OTBounce if you agree with those, if you disagree with those, or if you got some other winners or losers. We'd love to see them. So that brings us to the last segment of this episode, which is the fan favorite, I think our favorite segment. It's the hidden gems. If you guys are new around here, every Tuesday episode, we bring you 2 to 3 hidden gems each. These are guys that are flying under the radar, maybe had a breakout performance, or just overall cheap in fantasy that we think you need to know about. So we're going to go ahead and kick it off. Jarvis, kick it off with one of your hidden gems of the week.
I'm going to start it off with Kai Wagner for the Philadelphia Union, a defender.
Okay.
He had a season high for himself, 9 fantasy points last week versus Columbus. The big clean sheet bonus. Played the full 90. Had a lot of passes. I think some cleared balls. Got him a few points. So what do you guys think? Do you guys think the Philadelphia Union players, like their defenders especially, are like... Because I kind of feel like regardless of how talented they are, it's just going to kind of matter on the week for them and like how well their goalkeeper's playing and stuff like that. Because I don't know what to expect out of them now. If I'm going to get a 3-0 against Columbus, or if they're going to get trampled against Sporting Kansas or something like that.
Yeah, it's weird because they were missing Andre Blake this week, who's like their star, and he's their star keeper. But this is the week they put up a clean sheet. So I don't know. But then again, this could have revitalized them, so who knows? But we all know who they got to play next. FC Cincinnati in Cincinnati, so that'll be a very fun matchup. Brady, what do you think on it?
I think they'll be inconsistent this year. I'm not really too keen on throwing them in my lineup this week, or any week for the rest of the year. But, I mean, if the matchup's right, like you said, I definitely think I'd be fine playing some of the guys. I'm actually going to talk about one of them later on, but...
Okay. So matchup based.
It's a matchup basis, especially if there's a good value, like the guy I'm going to be talking about.
I like it. All right. Well, why don't you go ahead and jump into it?
All right, I'll jump into this guy. Thanks, Jarvis, for the amazing segue right here. Raymond Gaddis is who I'm talking about. Do you know who this man is? You probably should. This man is undervalued by a big margin. He's been an insanely consistent starter for Philly for almost 7 years now, and he's at the bare minimum value of $4 million last week. I saw that. I saw he's $4 million, and I saw how consistent of a starter he was, and I threw him in my lineup. And he got 8 points on the back of a nice little clean sheet, which, I mean, you can count on for a good matchup. I mean, what a value. I started Gaston Sorrow, who got me 1 point, but this man, Raymond Gaddis, saved me and gave me +7. That was massive in getting a big top 400 score a week for me overall. I mean, there's not much to go over this man except he's a consistent, great value. I think he's a great candidate to go on your bench for reasons just like what happened with me this last week. He's still only $4.5 million, which is still a tremendous value. I think he does have the possibility to go up in value quite a bit. I mean, anyone that can play 90 minutes on defense, especially this year, from what we've seen so far, with a lot of clean sheets, a lot of defenders like leading the league in scoring for the most part. I think there's a lot of opportunity. You got to snag these guys for really cheap on defense, and Raymond Gaddis on the Philly Union is one of those guys.
I like it. That's a good pick. Great value. I hope you guys are taking notes. Gravy the Gaffer.
Raymond Gaddis the Goose. Value. Snag him up.
Rain Man the Goose. Okay. New nickname. Write it down, boys. All right, so my first hidden gem of the week isn't really a hidden gem because everyone out there knows him, but I swear it feels like everyone's forgot about him, and that's Greg Garza, the fullback from FC Cincinnati, who's new to FC Cincinnati. He was on ATL last year, helped him win the championship. He played great all season last year. He's with the national team for US all the time. But like I said, it feels like everyone has glossed over and forgotten about him. And last week, if you started him, he was only $5 million. You heard me right. $5 million for Greg Garza, and he went off. He had 10 points for a defender, which is great. Now, of course, we're FCC fans, so we've watched them pretty much every game. But he's only played 28 minutes in the first 3 weeks. Every time he came in, though, he was electric. You could just tell, like, he's a different breed of fullback. He's got that crazy good touch. He whips in balls. He gets way up like a winger, and he's just flying up and down the pitch. So it was great to see him play a full 90 this weekend. He helped FCC earn a clean sheet in New England, And he was just everywhere. Like I said, he's up and down the pitch. He gets all the way up and pretty much turns into a winger. So I think this is a guy that you're going to have to start looking at as a very cheap starting quality option. At least on your bench, at minimum, he's going to skyrocket in value. He's still only $5.5 million. And barring an injury setback or he gets called up for the Gold Cup on the U.S. national team, he's going to start week in and week out for a really hot FC Cincinnati team this week. And of course, like I was just saying, FC Cincinnati's playing at home again where they play great week in and week out and against Philly. And who knows what Philly is. We were just saying Philly's a mixed bag. So look for Greg Garza, $5.5 million. Just like Brady's last hidden gem. It's a cheap starting quality guy that you're going to need to look for.
Dude.
So that's my first
I love
hidden
Garza.
gem.
That guy's he's a baller.
He's so
that's a
good,
good pick.
dude.
That's a good pick.
Oh.
He's a true
Yeah.
like top MLS player. That guy's a beast.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's like people forgot. He's under $6
I mean,
mil
that's
right
crazy.
now. Like, he's so
crazy.
cheap because he hasn't
He like
played.
single-handedly
But, like, he's
took away like
all-star
3
talent.
clear-cut chances from New England last week.
Yeah.
It was insane. I mean, that guy, he was
Dude,
unbelievable.
Yeah. His pace is ridiculous. Like, he's
I
rapid
mean,
down that
FCC
fullback.
put him in
It's
a winger
crazy.
that against Portland.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah, that's what, like, he can just play anywhere down that flank. He's great. But yeah, I love him. Not as a player,
The
as a
crosses,
human being.
the
Shout out to
crosses he
you,
was
Greg
throwing
Garza.
in were like pinpoint, like sliding
Oh,
crosses, sliding
dirty.
out of bounds. I mean, pinpoint too.
Yeah,
He's
he was like stopping balls from going out of bounds and
Dude,
delivering
he-
him right to
he's
the box.
outstanding.
Yeah, he's great. Yeah, $5.5 million. Go pick him up. You're probably gonna start him, but if you don't, like I said, keep him on the bench because he's gonna go way up in value. Jarvis, who's your last hidden gem?
Joao Matinho.
Yes, wow, Matinho.
Played his first MLS game of the season for Orlando, a defender, and got 10 big points. Got the clean sheet and an assist. The full 90 played. And he didn't really get, I don't think, any other extra points. But he had 30 passes, a couple cleared balls, a couple blocks. So he was all over the field. He looks really, really good. He's definitely someone I would keep an eye on, see how Orlando plays him in the next few weeks, see if he's a starter after all the international break gets over and all that. But he looked really, really good in that game. He's only going for $5 million right now, so definitely someone to keep an eye on.
I like it. That's a good
Big.
pick. Wow,
Wow.
Matinho. Wow. All right, Brady, who's your last hidden
Let's
gem
talk
of the
about
week?
Wow's teammate, and it's time for keeper talk, lads. Not to be a spoiler, but we're talking
I love it.
keepers for the rest of the show. How about my guy Brian
You know.
Rowe, goalkeeper from Orlando City? My guy shut out Bradley Wright Phillips of the Red Bulls, like we already said. And you know, I want to say something
He
before
did.
this. I read an article at the beginning of the year saying that Brian Rowe was a goalkeeper to target in the MLS this year. You should start the forwards that play against him. Guess what? That's
Ooh.
wrong today, my guy, because Brian Rowe had a
No.
fantastic game, and it wasn't even bloated by the clean sheet like a few other keepers who've had this year. I mean, this guy was making spectacular saves left and right. He had a breakout campaign in 2016, if you guys remember, with the LA Galaxy, where he recorded 31 appearances, 9 shutouts, and on their route to the MLS Cup playoffs, where he allowed the fewest goals by any MLS goalkeeper that appeared in a minimum of 30 matches. This guy's a baller. Let me tell you. My guy,
You're telling me Brian Rosashore?
yeah. I'm telling you that. Brian Rowe, over the first 4 games of the year, Brian Rowe has 17 saves. He's leading the entire MLS. Fun fact. He's also
Yikes.
tied for the most defender point bonuses in the MLS this season for fantasy. I think if Orlando City can put a respectable defensive unit around my guy, he could be a star keeper in this league, the number 1 fantasy keeper even. Big hidden gem to keep your eye on. He was only $4.7 million last week, cheaper than a few other guys that we're going to talk about. Up to $5.2 million this week, still a great value. Pending the matchup, I think this guy's an automatic start for me. Big gem, cheap keeper who has shutout potential, as you showed this last week. And again, it's kind of about you got to watch the lineups with Orlando City's defense, if they can put some guys around him and start to get some consistency on that back line, I think this guy is the number one keeper this year, a beast. Brian Rowe, Orlando City.
Okay, big talk.
Number
from
one
Brady.
keeper, eh?
I like it.
I'm talking about it. I'm not
That's
guaranteeing
pretty big.
anything, but I'm talking about it.
If you want to bet a bull on
You're
this,
saying he's got
I
that
mean, the
potential.
fewest goals allowed in 2016. I mean, that's the best keeper in the league.
put your bull where your mouth is.
Hell.
Are we betting a bull on Brian Rowe finishing the year keeper number one?
I'll bet top 5. I'll bet top 5.
I was about to say that is a
I'll
big
bet top
bet.
3. I'll bet against top 3 rather.
I'll only do top 5.
Okay.
Top 5.
I'm a ballsy kind of guy. I'll take that. I take that bet.
It's a deal, bettable. It's on.
All right, bettables
On the
official.
board.
So I guess check in about 6 months when the MLS finishes.
Check
We'll
in
let
in
you guys
November,
know.
boys.
If he doesn't get it, I'm just gonna gloss over it, and we're gonna forget about it. So
Yeah, no one's gonna remember. I like it. All right, so Brian Rowe, he was in the Dream Team of the Week this week. Like Brady said, he balled out. And continuing with the keeper talk, we got another FC Cincinnati lad, Spencer Ritchie. If you boys don't know Spencer Ritchie, you must know him now. So he's been the starter between the sticks for FCC since week 2. After their starting keeper that they brought in from Europe, they're using an international slot on, TT went down with an injury. I don't think TT's getting his job back anytime soon. Spencer has not allowed a goal scored on him in 265 minutes. Against ATL, he only let one in the very beginning. Then he shut out Portland Timber at home. Then they shut out New England Revolution on the road. He was in the Dream Team of the Week last week. He's been putting up great numbers so far. So he's averaging 7.3 fantasy points, which is 3rd overall for keepers that have played more than 2 matches. So that's high. Me and Brady were talking about keepers. Brady was just talking about how they're very high up in the fantasy scoring this year. You get those clean sheets from them. All types of good stuff can happen. But like I said, Spencer's not losing that job anytime soon unless he gets hurt or unless something drastic happens or Alan Koch is just off his rocker one day. But listen, 5.8 mil for this guy who's been going up 500,000, 500,000, 500,000. I say you get on him now. You start him next week. They're playing at home, which is a fortress in Cincinnati, against Philly, who's a mixed bag. But 5.8 million, man, for a starting keeper who's been eating and is the 3rd highest averaging keeper in fantasy. I don't think you can really go wrong with it. Worst case scenario, you make a bit of money off of him. But that is my last hidden gem. I know I'm hitting heavy on FCC, but you got to.
I'm taking you. Jarvis, hit the kangaroo court. Spencer
Please put me in
Ritchie.
kangaroo court.
Spencer, I love this man, to be honest. It's tough. It's
Yes.
tough being impartial when we're such hardcore FCC fans, but I'm not feeling Spencer Ritchie as much. I mean, let's be you.
That's a
You even
mistake.
said it. They brought in a guy to be the starter over Spencer Ritchie. He was here last year. He took over, mid-season or early season and never gave the job back in the USL. I don't know if he can do that in the MLS. He's been very dependent on the clean sheets. His saves, I mean, does he even have to play with how the defense has been playing the last 2 weeks?
Mate, did you not watch the last game where he had crazy double saves, punching
That was his
balls
only
out of
two.
the air?
That was
Come
his only
on
two
now.
saves. He had 2 saves in the game.
They were great saves.
Well, they were
I
playing
think
against
Jarvis
the
could have been
Revs.
back there and done the same thing, got a clean sheet. I'm just saying he's 5.
Well, Jarvis is a top
That's
keeper.
true. He's 5.8 mil. He's 15th in the league in saves. That's kind of mid-table. He's only played 3 games, but I don't know. 5.8 mil, he's starting to get a little expensive. I'd look for a guy like Brian Rowe, perhaps. But I'm just saying.
So what's the kangaroo court that your hidden gem keeper was better? I don't understand this
I'm
kangaroo
saying
court.
he's dependent on clean sheets, and I don't think he's going to be a great value for the. And he might lose his
but
job pretty quick.
I would take.
if he doesn't get these clean sheets. I mean, I don't know if this is as much as a hidden gem. I feel like he could put up 2-3 points every week for the next 4 weeks. and kind of lose that value.
No, I'm
instantly
saying-
and not gain value.
All right. I'll bet a bull on you, barring he doesn't lose his job. If he stays the starter over the next, you can even make it 3 or 4 weeks, he'll score more points than Brian Rowe. His defense is so much stronger than Brian Rowe's. He doesn't have to do anything. And when he does, he makes double saves with ease.
If we take out the clean sheet bonus, I'll make the bet.
Well, then there's no point
no.
of goalie points. If you get clean sheets, it's fantasy. That's what you depend on for goalies. You don't want 3
Well, I'm
points.
just saying,
You want 8 or 10 because they're getting the clean sheets.
teams, I mean, once we face some high
Well, we
ranked teams,
faced Atlanta. We faced Portland.
Atlanta's one of the worst teams in the league.
I know, but no one knew that coming into it. We played him in Atlanta. He let 1 goal in. He still had, I think, 5 points that game where he let a goal in.
I'd be willing to bet a bull
I mean-
on his value going up a certain amount over the next
Well-
4 weeks or something like that. Because he has a better defense. I mean, I think he's as good a player as Brian Rowe. It's just
Oh, he's much more expensive, yeah, because he's been in the MLS Team of the Week. He's been on the Dream Team of the Week in
Yeah,
fantasy, and he's going up 500,000. So that's why. But I'll definitely bet the bull over the next 3 or 5 weeks that he has more points than Brian Rowe. I won't do value because he's already inflated over Brian Rowe by like $1.5 million.
it's only $500K.
They're not going to knock him.
It's only
Huh?
$500K difference.
All right. Well, I'll still do points if you want to do points on him. I don't even know how far FCC's schedule is out, but I'll definitely do that.
All right, I'd do it. 3 weeks. Brian Rowe, more points. Spencer
3
Ritchie.
weeks. All right,
Bet
done
a
deal.
bull.
Another bet a bull. So that is our hidden gem segment of the week. That brings us to the outro. Anybody got any more closing remarks? Anything we forgot? Anything you want to touch on before we finish this out?
I don't think so.
I got nothing.
Yep, I think that's it. Like we said, it was a short week, 5 games. Now we're going to start getting back into the swing of things. We got a big full week coming up. So we're going to be preparing over the next couple days to get you ready for that Friday episode we always drop. And that's the episode where we give you our key starters of the week, the matchups of the week, and our captain's pick. So that's an important episode. So be sure if you're listening to us on Podbean, iTunes, or Spotify, you subscribe and you're following. You're staying up to date with us. And we are officially now on iTunes. So if you could, please rate it. Please leave a review. Anything you could do like that would help out greatly. And all of that is good stuff to help out your boys at On The Bounce. So that is it. That does it for me, JK, Gravy the Gaffer, and Josh Flu Game Jarvis. Hopefully he can see by this time Friday. And he won't be one-eyed. But that is it. The terrible trio from On The Bounce
Moi.
is out of here. We'll see you guys Friday.